Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share it with a friend, a colleague, a family member, a relative, an associate, and anyone and anything in between. I appreciate all the comments. As always, I appreciate all the views, all the likes, and yeah. I wanted to wait for the round of press conferences to happen before doing this one. So now that we've got the final one out of the way, let's get into this one. Okay, so first, let's talk about the Canelo and Triple G trilogy press conferences. Now, would you believe I literally just spent about 5-6 minutes, maybe more, talking about this, and the camera wasn't recording. So yeah, I'm gonna have to try and go through that same vim and excitement that I had, so bear with me. But I enjoyed the press conferences between the two of them. It was quite evident though. The first one was a lot more touchy and sort of, tense and angry than the second one was, purely because I guess at that point it must have been like the first time that Canelo seen Golovkin properly, or at least like face to face, like really just, in that presence after what he claimed all the shit he's been talking about him over the years or whatnot. So when he really stepped into his face, stepped over the line, was right in front of him, staring him down, and Golovkin's just there kind of looking down, almost with this half smirk on his face, like, this isn't gonna go how you think it's gonna go. But it was just long, it was drawn out. They got asked to turn to the front a couple of times, they didn't do it. Like they feel like they was proper locked in and zoned in. And yeah, he's talking on the stage. He's like, and he's back to English. Remember after the Bivol fight, he was in his Spanish bag again, or Mexican as some people call it. Like they don't know what the language is called, but that's another story for another day. He was back English, saying, this guy talk a lot of shit. He's two ways. He's one way in front of me, but behind the scenes, in front of other people, he says this and he says that. I want, this is his final payday. I'm gonna end his career. This is what he wants. This is what he's gonna get. Just talking real spicy. Like this is, the kind of talk that you want to hear to build up the mega fight, so to speak. And Golovkin is playing a blinder as far as I'm concerned, because everything of him, he's just calm. He's like, I don't know what his problem is. We're competitors. I try to win the fight. I shake his hand, I go off. If he's got any unfinished business, if he's angry, that's his problem. That's nothing to do with me. And all this time, you can just tell Canelo's just sitting there like, you mother. Yeah. No way, I do saw on the channel, but there's just no need for that. But you could tell that's just his MO at this point. But I feel like there's one thing Canelo didn't do, and I feel like this would have been perfect for him. And that's when Golovkin, because you hear him off camera in the first press conference saying, can I speak in Russian? And he starts speaking and he's got his translators going through after Eddie's asking the questions. Now, if I was Canelo at this point, I always would have been like, speak English. Like, you speak English, like, stop pretending, stop acting, speak it. Like, I just would have goaded him, like, to say, you are an actor, you are pretending, you are two-faced, like, you're not a nice guy like you claim, you are the arsehole that I called you. I just would have, that's how I would have tried to give it up, because at that point, like I said, Golovkin was just playing this whole nice guy blinder, like, oh, I don't know what his issue is, that's his issue, right? No, nothing to do with me. I just come to try and win the fight, and I'm just going to give you my everything to win the fight. Second press conference was a little bit more timid. No, not timid, it was a little more tame. It was a little calmer, because obviously you've got all that energy out on the first one, but it was still pretty, it was still pretty juicy. There was still enough that was said there, and Canelo's was like, what, I don't really like all this. The talking's done. Like, we know each other, so we're gonna know each other. And he may not have said this, but I'm gonna say it because it sounds better coming from me. But he said something along the lines of, if I don't knock him out this time, it's like my third defeat. Now to me, that tells you he said he's coming forward the entire fight. He's not taking a backward step. And you know, he knows that's risky. He knows the risk that involved. He knows he's a good fighter, and you know, he punches hard, but he wants that knockout. He said he's going for the knockout at all costs. And that to me sells the fight, because as you know, everyone, casuals and hardcores alike, love a knockout. Especially if it's like after a hard grueling fight for both people, you really feel like you know, they've earned their money, and you're happy parting with your cash, because it wasn't a one-sided pasting for 5, 6, 7 rounds, or a 12-round decision where one guy couldn't touch the other. Just a hard slog, both guys eating leather, getting hurt, having to dig deep, and yeah, that's really what you want. So I'm looking forward to it. And even towards the end of the second press conference, I guess the facade slipped just a little bit with Golovkin, because he did start speaking English at the end of the press conference, the second one. So yeah, all in all, it'll be a good one, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, roll on September. But before we get there, we got another super fight to talk about happening the month before. So without further ado, let's get into those press conferences. So we had a press conference last week in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, for the launch of the Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk, or should I say Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua rematch for the unified heavyweight championships of the world. Now, I stated before, when I saw this press conference, one thing that stuck out to me is Usyk was not in any type of fun games. He wasn't in any mood that I saw to say, like, you know, he normally plays his mind games. He has his funny quotes and annotations. He was very stoic, very serious. Spoke a little bit in English to start with. He said, I'm gonna speak, you know, what did he say? I'm gonna speak Ukrainian now. Went into, you know, speaking what his philosophies was, and his final words were just basically, I want to make you proud with my boxing. The whole time, like I said, there was barely a smile cracked or anything, so you can tell that right now he was not on the fun and games. Anthony Joshua on the other side, he was also a lot more serious and less jovial than maybe he needed to be. He tried to crack a couple jokes at one point. He did sort of, you know, had said, you know, Usyk, you bust my ass last time. And he said it jokingly, maybe thinking that would add some levity, but ultimately it's good that he's understanding that that did happen. So, you know, there are things that need to be changed in the rematch. Now, we talk about the stare down, the first stare down, because that has been the, you know, a talking point for the last week or so. So in that stare down, two things that I did notice, and I said this, and I know if she goes in the chat and watches this video, October Red will probably verify that I said this on Twitter. I saw everything I needed to see from that stare down from Usyk, just to tell me that this one's different from the first one. Like, there's respect, but because there's respect, this one's a lot different. Like, he was stoic and composed throughout the entire stare down. He barely moved, kept his eyes focused on AJ, and he was extremely still and calm for the entire time. AJ started off the exact same way, but then you could see his arms started to move a little bit. He started to look like he got a bit tetchy. Eddie was like, turn to the front. Neither of them turned to the front, but AJ's moving a lot more visibly than Usyk is at this point. To the point where he even points and gestures to him like, okay, let's turn now, kind of thing. Usyk's like, okay, cool, we turn. But then as Usyk's turning, he keeps his eyes on him, because AJ ain't turning, but Usyk's realized, okay, well, no, I mean, I'll turn to do this, but just understand, like, it's still you're still my target. And obviously AJ's then broke contact, and then Usyk's broke contact. So sometimes you don't really judge on that, but it was clear just from the actual body language at the time that one of them was a lot more uncomfortable in that situation than the other. Now, whether that's uncomfortable means scared, I'm not saying it does, but one of them was hoping for that situation to be over quicker than the other person was. Hence, even the reason why AJ was motioned to, okay, let's turn this, like, that's telling you that he wants to be out of that particular situation. That's what that means. Okay, like we've done this, let's move off. Like, this is a bit more, this is uncomfortable now. Like, what are we doing? Like, turn around, kind of thing. Also, in the second press conference that just happened earlier on today, I noticed something as well, and I don't know if anyone else picked up on this. And again, it kind of goes back to the whole Usyk being, or seeming to be, handling the pressure and you know, the situation a lot more in his stride than AJ does. And part of that might come with age, might come with from where he was born, you know, the background he's in. Something like this doesn't faze him. He's seen worse in life, kind of thing. But again, this time he's got his arms behind his back, standing still, just looking at AJ. AJ, if you look, he's standing proper upright, but his head, like he's got his chest poked out, but his neck and his head is like pushed back. Like his face is further, like he's not standing straight into Usyk's eyes. He's like leaning back, looking at him, and looking down in that way, almost like he's trying to keep a safe distance. So he's trying to keep his head out of harm's way, kind of thing, because he's making sure his chest is, you know, and his chest is protecting his head and his neck. If you look at it, like, you'll see what I'm talking about, because I've never seen AJ stand like that before in any of his face-offs. So that might just be me. Please, everyone else, have a look and tell me what you think. And obviously he's there, he's got his hands up, and he's fiddling with his thumbs, he's twiddling his thumbs, he's just, it all looks like this either nervous energy or this, I really want to punch you right now, but I'm not allowed, so let me just keep my arms occupied. Either way, it will still look like I'm not comfortable to be doing this with you right now. I don't want to be doing this. I want to be doing something else. And then, even to the point, obviously, Eddie Hearns now had to put his hand in between them, and then Usyk still looking, and then as he's about to start turning away, AJ just ducks from behind the hand to try and do a little levity, pow, 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 kind of thing. And Usyk's just looking like, okay. And then he turns to the front, and then he puts up the fist again, as he did in the previous one. Like, it all just looks to me as if AJ it looks like he's doing what he needs to do to manage an uncomfortable situation or manage his nerves. It definitely looks like there are some nerves there, and it might be just because, boy, he's, you know, he still has to process the fact that this guy beat him when he thought he was like the #1 guy in the world. So that still might be in his mind. He still might be trying to work through that. But yeah, ultimately, look, it doesn't mean a huge amount on fight night, because a lucky punch can change everything. A great game plan can change everything. Those nerves can make you more switched on, which means that you're more alert and more focused. Usyk might be more relaxed than he should be, which means he might walk onto something he wouldn't normally. All these kind of things can play a factor. So the press conferences aren't the be all and end all, but from what I've seen, and again, I'm no body language expert, I'm no psychologist, but it looks to me like one of these guys is handling this situation a lot more comfortable and in their stride than the other one. That's what that looks like. Also, and I want to shout out Boxing Beats and Rhymes. I'll need to credit him for this, because he mentioned this on his video, and then I actually did a little piece of research on it, and from what he said, it seems fairly credible. When they was doing the promo stuff for Usyk and AJ in Saudi Arabia, and Usyk's dancing with the people in the crowd, and he looks like he's just releasing a lot of energy, a lot of tension, a lot of frustration. AJ's just in the ring, like, wondering what's going on. Like, to him, it's not computing. So all of that, again, might just be him building up even more frustration and anxiety. Like, what is this guy doing? Whereas Usyk's just like, I'm a man of the people. I'm drawing their energy in. I'm releasing my bad energy, my nervous energy. It's all going. And if we see almost every time he's in doing workout videos, every time he's on the beach running, in all of it, you always see him dancing. Like he's always cutting his shapes, doing his Ukrainian dancing, like moving. And a lot of people apparently, like, dance is a very big a big cure of like stress and anxiety. And it makes sense, because a lot of the time you think when people go to the club on the weekends because they've had a hard week at work, they go to the club, start dancing, you feel good, it releases the endorphins, it just gets rid of that stress that you had for that moment in time, which maybe allows you to then go back to doing what you was doing before. So yeah, I mean, like I said, shout out to Boxing Beats and Rhymes, because like he has to get the credit for that every time, and I'll put the link to the video he said that in the chat in my descriptions. But yeah, overall there wasn't anything particular that was said that didn't need to kind of, you know, that needed to be, you know, touched on or gone over. But I just thought it was interesting how their demeanors were between both times. But yeah, as I said, Usyk looked like he's handling this a lot more, and that definitely means that AJ's got to have the game plan right if he wants to take those belts back home again for the third time. Oh, actually, before I even forget, on the previous video and on the previous platform, I stated about how there was no broadcaster shown on the posters. Well, Eddie Hearn came out in an interview today, I believe, a few hours ago, basically saying that Saudi, because they got the site fee, but they bought the entire rights to the fight, like across the globe. So they're gonna decide where the fight's shown in the UK, in the US, and everywhere else. That's a shocker. Like, I don't know how you kind of, you know, give that kind of levity away. I mean, I guess Usyk won't particularly care, because I feel like this is the end of his overall Matchroom contract and deal anyway. But AJ, obviously, he's just done this lifelong commitment to DAZN. Eddie works exclusively on DAZN, but you give away the rights to the entire biggest fight you have to the Saudis, who then could give the fight back to Sky or BT or Channel 5, ITV even. We literally don't know what they're gonna do with it. That just seems weird. I would have been like, okay, not the rest of the world. Okay, the UK definitely has to be DAZN. Everywhere else, all right, cool. You can decide that if you want to try and talk to ESPN or Showtime or Fox or, you know, USA, CBS. I don't know what other channels is out there. BET even, and if that is even still around, I don't know. But yeah, it just seems weird. But, you know, I guess we gotta hope that it stays on DAZN and that we get a semi-decent discount, hopefully, for that pay-per-view. But chances are that's not going to happen. But if it's on Sky, then cool. I guess I'll just have to make sure I'm home, because I've only got Sky on the TV. I don't have an app for it that I can log into, unfortunately. So yeah, but look, it's weird, but it is what it is. I'm sure that there's, you know, that they're well compensated for that, and I guess that Joe Markowski and Len Blavatnik are happy enough that, you know, that Eddie's given those rights away for this deal. I mean, they had to have okayed it as well, I suppose. So we'll see. But yeah, cool. Anyway, look, let me leave that one there. Get working on something else, and I need to hit the gym, do another few bits and pieces. I'll be back with another video tomorrow. But for now, thank you very much, and Hardcore Casual out.